Okay, and welcome to tonight's training. What we're going to be talking about is how voting by mail is going to affect voter behavior and how you can take advantage of that. Because people are going to have different behaviors when they're doing voting by mail rather than just normal absentee. Uh, and you can take advantage of that, and you can actually increase your vote totals if you know how to strategize for it. So first of all, there's a difference between absentee voting and voting by mail. So the procedure looks the same to the voter. Okay, the procedure is basically the same. So the voter gets a ballot in the mail, they fill it out, and then they send it back in through the mail, or depending, they can drop it off at a drop site. But here's the difference between absentee and vote by mail. Absentee, the voter has requested. They're a registered voter who has requested a ballot. Vote by mail, there's no request made. They are just blanket, either sent out to all registered voters, or they are sent out to all persons, all residents. And then they have to back check them as they receive them to make sure that they are a registered voter. So it depends a little bit. Many states are going to vote by mail this year. You can still vote at the polls depending on your state, but many of them are doing vote by mail. So another difference is when you have voting at the polls and you have regular absentee voting, that doesn't increase voter turnout. But voting by mail does increase voter turnout. So your likely voter group is going to be a much larger universe than usual. So when you're looking at, normally you look at likely voters as who normally votes in every election. Like they are a super reliable voter, and then that's your likely voter, right? However, if you have vote by mail, what you're going to look at is you're going to look at even your occasional voters are now likely voters. So you can segment out that group, people who vote occasionally, and you can devote a little extra time to them. Now, normally that would not be time well spent because people who don't vote regularly don't vote regularly. It's hard to get them energized to show up and vote. However, with this, it absolutely is worth your time to segment them out and put a little extra effort into them. Probably the two old parties will still continue to focus on likely voters. So this may be a group that isn't getting as contacted as often as your likely voters. Now, the next thing to do is know when ballots will be mailed. When will people have them in their homes? That's a very important date, okay? Because you're going to focus part of your marketing plan, part of your campaigning plan on when voters have that ballot in hand, okay? So to prep for this, between now and when ballots go out, which depending on your state is probably in about a month, about mid-September is when a lot of states start to do that early voting and do mail-in balloting. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have petitions either through your Facebook or through your website or that type of thing, but have petitions on specific issues such as you know, if you support X issue, sign this petition and we'll get that to our governor, or, you know, whatever it is. Or if you're against this issue, you know, sign this petition and we're going to get this to our county commissioner, whatever level it is. But make sure that you make good on that. So whether you send those in electronically or not, you know, make sure that you do so. And you're going to be collecting names and contact information, specifically phone numbers, emails, that type of thing. So you're going to collect that data for later texting and email messaging for getting out the vote, because you're going to, again, time that for when people have their ballot in hands. Okay? By the time people have their ballots in hands, you're going to need to have your door knocking mostly done. So if you have a field ops plan which has door knocking, that date when they have that petition or that ballot in hand for mail-in voting, you need to pretty much be done, because people are going to mail it in very quickly, or they're going to be dropping it off very quickly. So field ops are done, ballot is in hand, you have your names on people who are very interested in specific issues, and that's when you're going to hit them with your texts. Remember to vote, on X issue, you support this issue, vote for candidate, whomever. You're going to be having a very targeted texting message on that. And if you need assistance with setting up a texting program, Michael Sweeney is definitely someone to get a hold of. He has a really neat program that you can use, very inexpensive. There's a few others that are a little more expensive to use, and you can use those. But that's when you're going to hit them with that texting and remind them to vote, because they have the ballot in hand. They're like, yes, that is correct. I super, super care about this issue, and this candidate super, super cares about this issue. I will fill in that oval. So that's when you time that messaging. You can also have different messaging for your supporters, people that you know are supporting your campaign or likely to support your campaign, or are registered libertarians in your area. And so you'll message them a get out the vote message. Get out the vote for a libertarian candidate, TJ, right? Vote for TJ. So that's what you're going to want to do on that messaging. On your persuadables, you're going to have a different message for them. You could have a different message for seniors. You can really segment that out. But here's where the biggest change is going to happen in voter behavior. And we have already seen this in primary voting this year. When people received their ballot, candidates saw 5 times the normal traffic on their website that day and every day for the next week, solid. Because what people are doing is people are getting their ballot, and they may or may not know every person on their ballot, or they may not know exactly who they're voting for. So what they're doing is they're sitting there at their table with their laptop or their phone, and they're doing a quick lookup of each race and checking the candidate sites or the candidate Facebook page or the candidate's Insta, whatever they're doing, or they might be looking on Twitter, and they're going to do a quick lookup on that candidate. So 5 times the traffic, just like that. So people are really, really looking. And then they're going to go through their ballot, maybe spend 20 to 30 seconds on each candidate website and fill in their oval. So unlike other years where your website is moderately important, this year your website and your Insta and your Twitter and your social media is very important. So if you need to redo those with an eye towards someone sitting there with their ballot in front of them and looking you up for 20 seconds and deciding whether to vote for you or not, that's what you should do, and I strongly urge you to do that. So of number 1 importance, no matter what you're using, your hero photo is the single most important thing. So what is your hero photo? That's your big, beautiful photo on your homepage, or the first thing they see when they pull up your Twitter, whatever that is. It's that image. That is the single most important thing, and you want it to look friendly and confident and inviting. You don't want it to look stiff. You don't want it to look formal. You do not want it to look boring. You don't want it overly busy. You do want it to be very focused on you. But your hero photo is of vital importance. Next of importance is to have social proof. So social proof is someone else making a statement about how awesome you are. They don't have to know who that is. It doesn't have to be a big name. Just someone that lives in your area that says how awesome you are and why they're voting for you. A very short statement. It can even be a fragment of a statement. But that social proof is hugely important, because the people who are going to be looking you up on websites and on social media, those are people who are used to getting their information from social media. Those are people who are more trusting of that and trusting of their peers on social media. So if they see that someone else like them likes you, they're more apt to vote for you. Remember, it's at 20 to 30 seconds. If they're spending a little longer on your website, then it's kind of a toss-up. Your bio is very important. What you want in your bio is you want information that is personal about you, so that when people are looking at you, they're connecting with you as another human being. They're finding things to like about you. They're finding things you may have in common. So whether that's where you went to high school, where you went to college, that you're a parent, that you're a spouse, that you like popsicles. I mean, whatever that is, a hobby, something that humanizes you that they can connect with. Next is issues. Keep this super short, super simple. My website is not a good example to use for that, but I will show you examples. You want to keep it very short, very simple. It's something that they can peruse very quickly. If there's a lot of verbiage on there, they're just going to click out of it and look away and be irritated. But what you want to do is you want to have solutions. You want to offer solutions which already exist, which you could put into place if elected. So rather than focusing on problems, focus on solutions. Now I'm going to pop up a couple sites here. Okay, okay. First site that I'm going to show you is Bethany Baldus's site. I'm going to show you the issues on hers. Excellent. I see her hero photo. Okay, friendly, approachable, not overly stiff, not overly formal. How you know you have a good hero photo is when you look at it, you feel like smiling back. You look at it and you feel kind of happy. Okay, so let's take a look at her issues. Short, to the sweet, I mean, just concise, but you can read more. Like if they see something they like that they want to find out more, they can read more. But see how that goes? Really nice. But again, if you want to read more, you can read more, but it's not a ton more. Really like that site. Her biography, look at that nice family. Casual family photo. Very friendly, very approachable. Okay, let's look at this site. Okay, so on this site, you can see pretty good hero photo. Looks friendly, looks approachable, not overly stiff, not overly posed. I love his bio. This is an excellent bio. This photo, I mean, it's just kind of a friendly, happy photo. He's kind of squinting and that kind of stuff, but you're like, man, I can tell that this is just like a nice, happy family. I feel happy when I look at it. When I read his bio, I feel like I can connect to him. This is really excellent. And then it even goes into a little bit about, hey, wait a second, you're a libertarian. And it goes into a little bit of information about that too. If you scroll down there, that's great. If you don't scroll down there, that's okay too. But I really like his about page. Okay, this is my about page, which is, it's okay. I'm not enamored with my website. Here's my hero photo when you first come on board. It's a family photo, not overly stiff, that kind of thing. My issues page is not what you should do. Okay, so here is Nick's splash page for his county attorney run. I like it because I like that the photo is not busy. The photo takes up, and this is a true hero photo, right? Takes up the entire screen, friendly, approachable, that works. You know, that looks like someone that could be your neighbor and you would like him and it would be cool. So I'm going to hop out of there. Yep, Tom's saying you can judge his. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up and I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to say one other thing for you to just be cognizant of, and that is get out the vote and vote harvesting. So get out the vote is you're going to be messaging people that you know are your supporters only and encourage them to get out to the polls. You're not encouraging people who are not your supporters to get out to the polls. That's for your opponent to do, not you. Vote harvesting is something else. Vote harvesting is you are picking up, depending on your state, they may or may not allow this, you are contacting your supporters and you are picking up their ballots, which are sealed, and you are getting them to the drop site. You are taking them into, you know, wherever your city has their drop site, you know, or the city clerk or the county clerk or whatever that is, to get those ballots in and have them registered so you know that they have been delivered. It also makes sure that your supporters have voted and haven't forgotten to vote. So if you have registered libertarians in your area, you may want to, if your state allows you to do this, you may have volunteers go out and vote harvest. The other old parties most certainly are doing that if it is allowable in your state. And then you keep checking back until you make sure that they have voted, and when they have, you check them off your list. So that's how vote harvesting is kind of a subcategory of your get out the vote effort. But keep this in mind of how this is going to change voter behavior. And what I'm going to do right now is I am going to unmute everyone, but and ask if you have questions. But if you don't have a question, just mute yourself again. I'm doing this so that it turns control to you, and then that way you can ask a question. So I am going to unmute everyone. If you have a question, feel free to ask it now.
All right, Kara, I have a couple of questions,
Okay.
actually. So you mentioned about posting quotes from supporters on social media.
Yes.
Uh, do those quotes need to be attributed to particular people? Do you need to get their
Yes.
permission if they've sent you email through contact forms?
Yes. So what you do is if you have a really good comment or you have a really good social proof statement, just ask that person, say, you know what, that was really great. Could I use that on my website? Most supporters, of course, are going to be like, yes, that would be awesome. But you do want to attribute it. And again, it doesn't have to be someone that people know. I mean, people looking at that on your website may have no idea who that is. No idea who said how awesome Daryl Perry is. Um, but people will see that, and because it's someone else saying something nice about you, it's believable. You saying something nice about yourself is self-serving. Okay, so other questions.
I have a statement and
Okay.
a question. So your vote harvesting thing
Mm-hmm.
would work wonderfully in states where that's allowed.
Yep.
New Hampshire is not one of those states to where you have to be a relative of the person that you're turning the absentee vote in for.
Right.
Uh, but one thing that I have done on my website, because we're not going to vote by mail, we're expanding absentee
Yes.
to everybody that wants to vote absentee can do that. So I've actually
A no
put,
questions asked absentee, right?
uh,
They don't
no,
have to provide a reason.
you still have to mark a reason, but they're
Oh,
putting
really?
concern for COVID as
Oh,
a reason.
got it. Okay.
Where originally the Secretary of State had said that concern for COVID would fit within disability, but then some
But people didn't like
disability,
that. Yeah.
well, it was actually some disability rights organizations
Yep.
that complained about that. And so the legislature, uh, they came back in for like 3 weeks in June, where it was after time for bills
Mm-hmm.
to actually be submitted, but they were able to do an amendment uh, to do a thing of, concern for COVID is a reason. Uh, so what I've done on my site is have on the front page a really big giant box for request absentee ballot. Uh, so I would suggest everybody
Mm-hmm.
else look to see what the laws are in your state if you're going to vote by mail, or if people have to request the absentee ballot, and
Right.
probably do the same thing and have that fillable PDF. Um, there was a question in there somewhere, but I don't remember what it was.
Yes, but
Do
it
you
is a
think
good
that's
idea.
a good idea?
Yes, I do. Because if people are on your website, they are probably a supporter of yours, or they are, because if they do not yet have an absentee ballot and yet they're on your website, chances are they are a supporter or leaning towards being a supporter of yours. So yes, you want to make it as easy as possible for them to vote for you. So yeah, I do think it's a good idea. Now in Minnesota, we do have vote harvesting. We are a vote harvest state. Um, we'll see how long we have that, because there's been some unscrupulous people who would go to um, nursing homes and that type of thing and help them fill out their ballot and then take their ballot, and yeah, it wasn't good. It's not a good thing. But we'll see. But I know more states are leaning towards allowing vote harvesting. Do we have any other questions?
I don't know if you can answer specific campaign rules about, like, I live in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been trying to find online. I have a friend who runs for office. He's the sheriff here, and then he's also friends with one of the congressmen here for the state. And he was telling me, I said, "Oh, I want to consider running for office, but some of the issues I want to run with, I'm concerned that I may actually get fired from my job. I work for an international company. I don't know, they might not be in favor of some of those." So he goes, "Well, if that's the case, you're allowed to pay yourself an equal salary while you're running." And I was like, "Well, I'd like to find that in writing before believing you. I mean, no offense, but." And so I've been trying to find anything to back up what he said. And I haven't found anything. So I'm leaning towards it's not true.
Yeah, I'd lean
But I've,
towards not true.
Uh,
yeah,
Patrick,
yes,
let me ask this question. Is this a state level office that you're thinking of running for?
yes, state level.
Yeah.
Uh, that I would look into. I know for federal
Yeah.
office, I stumbled across this on the FEC website while looking for something completely different. Uh, for federal office, you are allowed to pay yourself a salary of not more than what you would make
Yeah.
if elected, or
Right.
your salary that you were earning. I think whichever is lower.
Yeah, I did
Lower.
find that one. I just
But
couldn't
I'll
find it for
tell
the
you,
state.
so on state level, I would contact your Secretary of State because that's the person who would have the election law. I always, here's where I start on these types of things. I start from the assumption that it's not allowed and I need proof, like that's my starting point. And then I need proof that it is allowed. That's the way you stay on the good side of campaign finance law. So unless your Secretary of State's office can give you the information and cite the state law regarding that, I would start with the position of no.
And I agree with you. That's why I'm trying to find documents
Yeah.
before buying into that.
And that
Okay, I
is very
appreciate it.
good.
I'll keep searching.
Absolutely. You bet. Any other questions? Otherwise, we are going to start wrapping this up. I try to keep this really tight to below 30 minutes because I know candidates are super busy and so are campaign teams. But if you do have any questions, you can get a hold of me. In the emails that I send out to you, to candidates and campaign teams, I have my email address, but I also have my phone number and you can call and text me. I have a lot of candidates that text me back and forth quite a bit and a lot of calls. So feel free to do so and get a hold of me. But thank you very much for everyone for joining us.
Kara, I do have
Yes.
one more question.
Okay.
If a candidate, and I realize that getting the official voter list from your Secretary of State or city clerk or whoever the official is, some states make libertarian candidates or all candidates pay.
Yes.
And sometimes those fees aren't exactly cheap. But have you ever used L2 for voter targeting
I have.
to download a list of voters? And would you recommend that to people that aren't able to get the voter list from their government official for free?
Yes, I would. Absolutely, I would. I have used it and they do clean their data frequently. It is, in my state, and Minnesota's pretty good on data, but just looking at my state, L2's data is usually more up to date than even our Secretary of State, and it has a lot more information in it. We do not have voter registration by party. You just have voter registration. But they do tell us, if a person leans what way or whatever, who they've donated to, what groups they're a part of.
If they have cats.
I wish they had that part.
Dogs.
They have like what they like on social media. Yeah, I mean, they have
I've downloaded for New Hampshire of likely cat owner, likely dog owner. They own horses.
It's really, really detailed. Really detailed. So yeah, I do.
And it's only like
I
2
do
or 3
suggest
cents a record.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
I've been using it for my campaign.
If you have like 100,000 records you need, I mean,
Right.
everything's subjective, but the data is worth it. It is.
Yeah.
And it will have phone numbers and it will have email addresses and it will have all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's worth it.
Real quick, any suggestions for figuring out how to whittle that data down to your most likely supporters? Because it's huge.
Yeah, so you can whittle it down. So if you have issues that you are strong on, whether those are 2A issues or marijuana issues or whatever that is, you can pick what you can do to whittle it down is you can pick like 3 issues that you would like them to also care about. And then you can get kind of that nexus. So I mean, libertarians, like a lot of time, our sweet spot is people who are strong 2A supporters and also legalized marijuana supporters. Like if they hit both of those, that's a pretty good area of persuadable universe for libertarians. So if you ask L2 to filter that data down, I want voters, and I wouldn't even do it likely voters if your state is one of them that is having you know, home voting or vote by mail. I would say voters, you know, they're a voter, and I would like them to be like a strong 2A supporter, and I would like them to be a strong legalized marijuana supporter. And that's going to narrow that universe down, and that's a pretty good persuadable universe for libertarians.
Okay.
They like, if they like both of them, they like both of them.
Okay. I actually purchased a raw data set from a friend of mine that works for a company similar to this platform we're talking about here. So I paid 2.5 cents a person for everybody that voted in the previous 2 municipal elections.
Good.
But I have, like, it goes to 3 letters wide on my columns on the different data that it tracks for them. So I guess I just need to get good at pivot tables or to figure this out.
Yes. Get you a data nerd.
Yeah. Well, I got 7 days to.
Yeah, put out the call for a good data nerd, and then they can, because they'll be able to crunch it super quick. Like I don't even try to go through those things. I get someone else, because for me, I would be spending like a couple days on it. Well, that's time blown, right?
Yeah.
So find a data nerd.
Yeah, the nerd I found it crashed her computer.
Open Source Liberty. Yes, that is a good suggestion. Go to Open Source Liberty on Facebook and, put out the call.
I'm sorry, what exactly are you needing with your data set?
I'm just trying to whittle down who the most effective people for me to start calling in the next 7 days would be out of the 4,000 people that I have.
Well, okay, I'm a junior data scientist, so
ooh, you have a data nerd.
I can't guarantee I can get you the results you want, because I'm still learning myself, but I might know enough. Maybe I can. It's free. If you want to send it to me, I can take some time. I can look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I can help.
I love this, that you guys are able to connect. And we have Michael Sweeney joining us. So when I was talking about someone that can help you with texting, that's someone you'll want to contact. So if you whittle that down to your 4,000 people, or never know, you might be able to chat with Michael and you could send every one of those 4,000 people a text.
That would be sweet. I've got a little bit of money left in my budget, Michael.
Yeah, I just put my email in the chat.
So pop your emails in. We are going to be closing this out in about a minute. So everyone flop your email down there if you want to exchange information, so you guys can get a hold of each other, and then you guys can connect up. I love when stuff like that happens.
Hey, and thank you so much for that Zoom session you did a couple of months ago. I've been the standout person on all the platforms we've done so far, between the lighting and the makeup and the background and everything.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Certainly helped.
Yes. Every little bit helps. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to close it out. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Yep. Okay. So Michael put his information out there. So for those of you that want texting help, seriously, get a hold of him. Have a good one. Talk to you guys later.
Have a good one, y'all.